Here's what I think's going on with the 49ers, why they're slashing so much of their spending. You got to remember, Parag Marate's been in this organization since like 2001. He's the executive vice president of football operations. And before John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan got here in 2017, he really ran the organization and made a lot of the football decisions. He's the head bean counter, and he is fiscally conservative. But when the Yorks hired John and Kyle, they really gave them a blank check for 8 years. Whatever you want to do, whoever you want to sign, whatever trade you want to do, the answer is yes. And so Parag didn't really seem to have much of a role. They gave him a new job as the president of 49ers Enterprises. In the last few years, he's spent a lot of time in Europe. The Niners bought Leeds United, an English soccer team that's trying to get back into the Premier League, and they recently bought Rangers FC, a Scottish soccer team. So Parag Marate's really diversified the 49ers portfolio over the last few years. Meanwhile, John and Kyle have been spending like drunken sailors. I mean, they've really gotten the 49ers, the Yorks, in a bad spot. $334 million they spent last year on a team that went 6-11. Yikes! So all of a sudden, it seems to me like Parag Marate's back in power. His opinion matters, and all of a sudden, it's not just Kyle, John, do whatever you want to do. It's listen to Parag. Work within. That's my guess. Why? Because all of these signings so far, these bargain bin signings, is the way the Niners used to operate when Parag was in power. So it's possible if the Yorks now trust Parag again, if they're saying, you're the guy who's going to get us out of this financial mess. Well, remember, Parag is very involved in soccer. He's kind of like the Niners' Howie Roseman, but Howie Roseman was a bean counter, but he's also obsessed with football and really is a personnel guy. He understands the game, scheme, personnel. I don't know that Parag really does like that. He's into making money, and they're doing that with the Niners, but they're not doing that so well with Leeds United. That team needs to get promoted to the Premier League, which they might in a couple of months. They thought they would last year. They didn't. Devastating for them. If they get promoted to the Premier League this year, most teams that get promoted to the Premier League get relegated again in a year because it's so competitive and they don't have good players. The way you have to stay in the Premier League is to spend a lot of money to get players to come to your team, just like in the NFL. So it's possible that Parag's plan for 2025 is to spend the Yorks cash on soccer. I mean, they just bought Rangers FC. That's a big cash investment in soccer. In a couple of months, if Leeds gets promoted, they could be signing a lot of expensive soccer players while they're over here signing Jason Pinnock and freaking Trey Brown and Luke Farrell. So they still spend money. It's just that there's a lot of teams they're invested in. And if Leeds becomes a moneymaker like the Niners, then all of a sudden the Niners double their money, their profit, and they have a lot more money to spend on football in the future. But my guess is that Parag's plan, the Niners' plan for 2025, is to not spend much on football after spending so much on football the last 8 years, and to shift a lot of that cash to soccer so that they can increase their revenue streams in the future. And that brings me to Brock Purdy. If I'm right, you really think Parag wants to give Brock Purdy an extension this offseason? We know John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan do. They've said they want Brock to be the quarterback as long as they're here. But if Parag wants something else, what's going to happen? What if Parag doesn't want to give him that extension? What if Parag doesn't think Purdy's really worth that much? What if Parag would rather trade him for a quarterback on a rookie deal? Would the Yorks go along with it? All I know is that Brock hasn't gotten that extension yet, and that Brian Griese left the freaking team, the quarterback that handpicked Purdy and molded him. So, does he know something we don't know? Is Brock going to get that extension? Or does Parag Marate want to spend that money on a midfielder that I've never heard of? Something to monitor. Watch what's going on with Leeds United.